Hello, welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is David and in this video I will show you how to play Point City, the follow-up on Point Salad. And if you know Splendor, you can play this game almost right away, because it's just like Splendor, only without the gemstones but with cards. So please let me show you how it's played. This game is for 2 up to 4 players, although there's also a solo mode included. In the box you'll find a deck of cards. Those are both sided. One side has the resources, the other side has the building side. There are 3 tiers, 3 levels with 1 dot. These are very light blue, then a little bit darker has 2 dots, tier 2 cards. And finally we have the darkest color that has 3 dots. Based on the number of players, you will play with an X amount of tier 3 cards. Those go on the bottom. On top of that goes the tier 2 cards, and finally on top you will put the tier 1 cards, and you will put them with the resource side up. Then you make a grid, starting of course with the tier 1 cards of 4 by 4, all with the resource side up. And also based on the number of players, you'll put a number of civic tokens in play. These tokens you can collect during the game and they will score you extra points at the end of the game. Then all players will start with a wild card, this card, that is worth 1 resource of your choice. There's 1 card that has this symbol on it. This card will decide the starting player, so when playing with 2 cards you will have this card and another card. You will shuffle them, deal them out, and the player who has this symbol will be the starting player for this game. So you get 1 wild resource in your play area for free at the start of the game. When it's your turn, it's very simple. You pick 2 cards. You can draft the top 2 cards of the draw pile, or you can take 2 cards from the offer, but they have to be adjacent to each other. So for instance, I might take the energy and the ecology. And you put them in front of you, and these are now resources I can spend. If you took the cards from the market offer, you have to refill the offer, and you do so from left to right, from top to bottom. If you took a resource card, you will have to replace it with a building card. And if you took a building card, you will have to replace it with a resource card. And then it's the next player turn to pick 2 cards. Note that all players have 1 optional flip action in their turn. If there's a row or a column in the market that contains all resource cards, so all 4 cards are resources, then you may optionally flip 1 of those cards to its building side. But you can only do so with resource cards. You may never flip a building card to its resource side. So that is how you start collecting resources. In my next turn, I might want to take this community card and this building card. You can only take a building card if you can immediately pay the resources that are on the bottom of it. So in this case, I have to pay the community. I just took it. And the ecology card. And I put this in a discard pile. And now I put this building in front of me. This gives me a production bonus of industry. So from now on I will always produce 1 industry, which reduces the cost for a building if it needs industry. I fill up the row again. Here was a building, so I put a resource in it, and here was a resource, so I'll put a building over there. These 2 tokens are provided to remind you of what you took. So if I took a resource card over here and I want to make sure I don't forget what was over there, I'll simply put those tokens here. So when refilling the offer, I remember, oh, this was a resource, so now it has to be a building, and this was a building, so now it has to be a resource. That's what these 2 tokens are for. So the next time I might want to try to build this building, I will already get 1 industry discount, because I have a building in front of me that produces 1 of these. So for me, this would now only cost 1 industry and 1 economy. So maybe if I take these 2 cards, in the next turn, I am able to build that building. So the more buildings you get, the more of those symbols you produce, and the less resource cards you have to pay or collect to be able to build those buildings. Also, this building not only produces 1 community symbol, but it's also worth 2 points at the end of the game. Then those civic tokens. Whenever you build a building that has this symbol on top of the card, you are allowed to pick 1 of these civic tokens, and the one that you select will score you point at the end of the game. And those are mostly about the resources you produce with your buildings. For example, with this one I will get 3 points at the end of the game for each pair of buildings that produce economy and energy. This one is 2 points worth for each building that produces economy. This one is simply worth 7 points. This one will give me 6 points for each set of all 5 of the resource buildings that I collect. And this one is worth 2 points for each of the unused wild cards that you still have in your play area that you have not used. And these cards will also appear during the game into the offer. And so we keep on playing. Once we get to the tier 2 cards, they will produce 2 resources each. The buildings might get a little more expensive to build, but of course, because you're also building buildings yourself, they get more easy to buy as the game progresses. And finally, you will get to tier number 3, where you need to pay even more resources. And the game continues until the draw pile is empty. Someone took 2 cards out of the offering and you cannot fill up the grid anymore to 16 cards. Then the game immediately ends. You score points for all the buildings you've built. You score points from the civic tokens you selected. And then whoever has the most points is the winner. Should you have a tie, then the player who has the most unused resources in front of him is the winner. And if that's still a tie, those players share the victory. And then there's also a solo mode. I made a mistake in the solo explanation. This is a re-recording of the solo part because I got that wrong the first time. When playing solo, you use 10 of those civic tokens, but you put them in a line. And every time the opponent takes a card that has the civic building symbol, you'll take the most left of the tokens and you flip it face down. It doesn't matter what's on the other side. For me it still does, but not when the AI takes the token. I do my turns as normal. When it's the AI's turn, it will take the 2 cards that are at the intersection of the 2 tokens. These are 2 civic tokens that were not used during the game. And it takes that card plus the card below it. And it doesn't have to pay resources to take buildings. And those buildings he will put face up in his area. Then the tokens both move either to the right or to the bottom. We fill the offer. And the next time it's the AI's turn, it will take these 2 cards, because here's the intersection and the card below. Then these move and it will take this card, and because there's no bottom card, it will take the top card, so these 2. Then these will move again, this will move up, it will take these 2 cards, and then this moves down, this moves over here, and we're back at the starting position. So that's how the AI will take cards. At the end of the game, the AI will of course score points, also based on the difficulty you want to play on. In all 3 modes, easy, medium or hard, it will simply score the points from the buildings printed on the building cards. In the easy mode, it will score 1 point per permanent resource and 3 points for each civic token that the AI player has collected. In medium mode, it will score 1, 2 or 3 points per permanent resource if it has 1, 2 or 3 or more cards of that resource, and 5 points for each civic token. And playing on hard mode, the opponent will score 1, 3 or 6 points for 1, 2 or 3 plus of each type of permanent resource, 7 points per civic token, and it will score 1 point per wildcard it has collected. Of course, you can see what cards the opponent will take next or what you will leave for your opponent, so maybe you can take advantage of that. And that is how you play Point City, collecting resource cards to build buildings. Those buildings will provide you with additional resources, so you don't have to pay with cards anymore. Or they grant you the bonus of taking one of the civic bonus tokens. If you take a resource card, you refill it with a building card. If you take a building card, you will refill it with a resource card. And so it's a race to score the most points until the offer cannot be refilled anymore and it's the end of the game. If you have any questions about this game, please feel free to ask them in the comments below. My name is David, thank you for watching and hope to see you next time.